Good morning, and welcome to episode 114 of Getting Rich. I'm your host, Rich Checkan, president of Asset Strategies International, and today is Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. Yesterday, we got our consumer price inflation number. It was a little bit cooler than it was the previous month. It dropped from 6.4% down to 6%. So that, I guess, is encouraging, but it's nowhere near the 2% that the Fed is looking for. So 6% is still quite high for consumer price inflation number. Of course, we're all feeling that in our pocketbooks as we do our shopping. Today, the producer price index number comes out, and we'll see what more inflation is backed up in the pipeline. And then, of course, next week, we've got the Federal Open Market Committee meeting for March, where we'll see what the Fed will do with all these inflation numbers. And, of course, that decision is even more complicated now by the failure of three different banks. Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Silvergate Bank have all failed here recently. And, you know, the thought process was the Fed was going to keep raising rates longer than anybody expected, higher than anybody expected, possibly until something broke. Well, guess what, folks? It looks like things are starting to break. And that's not the only thing. We could look at consumer credit. We could look at auto loan subprime companies going under. There are other things in this economy that are breaking, but these are three big headline banks that have now shut their doors as a result of the rate tightening cycle. Let's take a look at what the impact that had on both, on the precious metals market, but it's also raising the equities markets. In the precious metals markets, big impact as people move as a safe haven to precious metals. Gold today, $19.0950 an ounce. That's up 5.1% from $18.1720 a week ago. Silver's up 8.6% to $21.96, just under $22 an ounce from $20.22 last week. Platinum is up 2.4% to $977 from $954 last week. And palladium is up 4.6% to $1,546 an ounce from $1,478 a week ago. As silver increased at a faster pace than gold this past week, the gold-silver ratio, number of ounces of silver it takes to buy an ounce of gold, has dropped to 87.31 from 90.31. And the U.S. dollar is under some pressure as there are some concerns about the U.S. dollar and the U.S. economy over the past week with the bank failures. That sits today at 104.34. Last week it was 105.72. The bottom line is the impact on these bank failures is the Fed has got some tough decisions to make next week. Do they continue course or do they pause? A lot of people feel right now that they will pause, and we're seeing that in the stock market where they think the party is back on again and it's rallying, except for bank stocks. The other rally, as you know, is going on in precious metals. I just covered those figures, and that's the rally that makes sense. It's the rally that typically will be short-lived for these types of issues going on in the economy, but in the long term, you know where we're going. We have mismanaged currency, and we're using that mismanaged currency to go ahead and value gold. In the long run, gold's going higher, make no mistake about it. Got gold. As always, we want you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us, ask us your questions, follow us on social media, follow our monthly newsletter and our twice weekly alerts, but don't ever forget that getting rich starts with keeping what's yours.